Captain Marvel, or Captain Marvel. Those of you that have already seen the film or plan on seeing it will know exactly what I mean when I pronounce the actual title as Captain Marvel. The movie sees Brie Larson playing the lead character of Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers, and it begins kind of in a confusing fashion. She still doesn't have her memory. She's on some sort of intergalactic space mission with a space police type team who are combating another enemy race, alien race, which are known as the Skrulls. So straight away we can see that there's some sort of conflict between these two alien races, the one that Carol Danvers is currently with and also the Skrulls. So to put a long story short, things go wrong on this spy rescue mission and Carol Danvers is kidnapped by the Skrulls, who put her in some sort of machine, and we're treated to all these random flashbacks. They're trying to get into her memory to find a certain individual so they can find the Tesseract, and God knows what they're going to do with one of these Tesseracts, because obviously it's a very powerful element which in the wrong hands can definitely be catastrophic for the universe in whole. Carol ends up escaping the Skrulls and crash lands on Earth in the 90s, which I really appreciate because it's just got this nostalgic feel to it. Being born in the 80s myself, I just really have a real connection or bias towards 80s and 90s settings. So she crash lands into Blockbuster Video of all places, big throwback to the 90s. And then there's also like Radio Shack. The 90s music that's in the film is really awesome too. It'll really, for those of you that lived through the 90s, I think you'll definitely appreciate the nostalgia here, like I did. She soon meets up with Nick Fury, a very young looking Nick Fury, obviously still played by Samuel L. Jackson, and they've done such an awesome job with the CGI de-aging effects that they've done on Nick Fury. He really does truly look younger, and you cannot tell that it's not like overly done with CGI. It looks very natural, and they've definitely done an incredible job there. My hat's off to the CGI for the de-aging effects on Samuel L. Jackson, aka Nick Fury. And that's kind of where I can't really reveal too much because there's some plot twists and turns that happen, and I don't want to spoil it for everybody because I really enjoyed what I saw with some of the twists and like the turns that actually happened. What I'm trying to say is not everything is how it appears to be. I can't really reveal much more than that, other than Nick Fury assists or aids Carol Danvers in gaining her memory back and actually getting her on track so she knows who she was, who she is, and who the good guys are, because there are some twists and turns here, but I'm not going to reveal it. This is definitely a spoiler-free review. And during the film, Carol Danvers doesn't actually know how to actually use her powers to the fullest potential. She's actually restricted by some sort of device, which I can't really reveal too much about, but her powers aren't being released to their full potential. So by the end of the film, once all of the memories come together and we figure out who the good guys, the bad guys truly are, then she realizes how to disable this restriction on her powers, and then boom, we have Captain Marvel, who looks pretty awesome in the end with her whole mohawk thing happening. I really appreciate the effects on the Captain Marvel at the end. I think she looked really good, but the problem with this movie is there's no real threatening villains. There's nothing really that's a huge threat to Captain Marvel. There's some good action sequences, but not enough. Most of the action happens towards the end, and then there's no real awesome fight scenes. Sure, there's some pretty good scenes throughout the film, definitely, but there's no real action after the beginning of the film. Definitely doesn't do it justice from the beginning. The humor in this movie actually works really well. That cat, that goddamn cat, y'all know what I'm talking about. I love the cat in this movie, which kind of bonds with Samuel L. Jackson, or aka Nick Fury. There's some chemistry happening with him and this cat. It's really awesome. Speaking of Nick Fury, he's got two eyes at this stage, and I like how they kind of play at the idea of how he actually lost his eye. So several times throughout the film, Nick Fury will either be beaten up or be in accidents, and he'll appear as though he's damaged his eye, and the audience will be led to believe, so that's how he lost his eye. But then he'll be like, oh no, I'm okay, it's just a scratch. So they kind of play with the concept on how Nick Fury actually lost his eye. All I can say is by towards the end of the movie, it is revealed how he actually loses his eye. But I like how they play with the idea of how he actually lost it, and you kind of think that's how it happened. But then he turns around and he's like, "Oh no, it's just a scratch." So I like how they kind of really play along with that concept. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie, especially with the 90s nostalgia in it. It was actually, I went in there with lower expectations watching the trailers. I wasn't really too enthusiastic on seeing this. I mean, it's very difficult to watch a movie like this after Avengers Infinity War, which was just flawless. It's going to be a real hard film to beat for any Marvel film that follows in its footsteps. And Captain Marvel is the next one after it. It was always going to be pretty much near impossible to beat a film like that. So this kind of serves as a filler film and an origin story to Captain Marvel just before Avengers Endgame comes out. Having said that, at the end of Infinity War, it would appear as though Captain Marvel is the savior to the Avengers. But if this movie was supposed to introduce her amazing overpowered abilities to be able to actually take out Thanos, then they didn't succeed in that, because she's kind of maybe at Superman level at the most as far as her powers go. Like, she is flying and stuff towards the end and she's super powerful, but is she Thanos powerful, where he's got like all of the Infinity Stones and the gauntlet? She's got no chance. This movie definitely doesn't show us the powers that she can actually influence against Thanos, especially when Thor's probably about the same power level as her. I don't think, if he doesn't stand a chance with all of the Avengers and all of the Guardians of the Galaxy and all the other characters that team up, then how the hell's Captain Marvel going to do it? This movie definitely doesn't do her powers justice if she's supposed to be this savior to the Avengers and take out Thanos. And I really hope that they don't go down that path in Endgame. I hope that Captain Marvel isn't the one that defeats Thanos. I'm sure that they'll end up teaming up in some way, shape or form and take out Thanos, but if she does it single-handedly, I'll be super disappointed. The movie was a lot more enjoyable than expected. It's definitely a very good movie. You can't compare it to Infinity War. It's obviously not a flawless, incredible movie like that film. However, it is good. It's just not fantastic. And during my review, I've left all of the controversial things aside. I didn't let it influence my decision in watching this film and critiquing it for the actual movie that it is. I found out about most of the controversy surrounding Brie Larson, her comments and the whole feminist thing in regards to the movie. And to be honest, all that sort of stuff would have given me a headache anyway. I hate people whinging and whining about things like that. Sure, Brie Larson made some comments that seemed a little bit feminist or whatever. Like, I don't even know the full story because it just doesn't interest me. Negativity and whining just drains the hell out of me. I just like watching films and critiquing them for what I see in front of me, for the performances, for the visuals and everything else. I judge the film purely on the film. So I just want everyone to know it's important that I haven't considered anything that's happened in the media or anything like that, any of the controversies surrounding the release of this film, feminism. I don't get involved in any of that rubbish. So this film is just being scored as a standalone film for being a film. And overall, it's a really good film. I really enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. The whole 90s nostalgia thing really worked. The humor worked. The action needed a bit more action, I think. Like, in the beginning, it started off really strong where Carol Danvers is escaping the Skrulls alien ship, and she's got, like, her hands are subdued still. She's still, like, chained up. She's got these things on her hands, and she's still, like, kicking a lot of butt and stuff. That was really awesome. And then it kind of, like, in the middle, it really slows down for a bit in the second act. And then the third act, we see a bit more action, and we find out exactly how she gained her powers through the core of the Tesseract, and this engine blows up and she absorbs the power. It's a bit far-fetched, to be honest with you, especially if she's supposed to take on Thanos, who has the gauntlet with the Infinity Stones. Like, she's got no chance if she's just absorbed, the core of one Tesseract. But anyway, more about that in a later video. Bottom line is, could have definitely had a lot more action. Does slow it down in the second act in the middle and then kind of picks up a bit in the third. I think the strongest part of the movie is towards the beginning, the first act definitely. But overall, really good movie, really enjoyed it, and I'm not afraid to give it a well-deserved 10 out of 13. Definitely something you want to watch. It's a great filler movie before Avengers Endgame. I don't really know how Captain Marvel is going to be connected to Thanos or the Avengers at this stage. Like, where's she been all of this time if this has all been happening in the 90s? Obviously, Nick Fury's been in touch with her. There's a lot of plot holes there, but I'm hoping that maybe Endgame answers all of that. I just really hope that she doesn't solely take out Thanos, because she's clearly not on the level, nowhere near the tier of Thanos' power from what we've seen in this movie. But it's definitely worth a watch. Great filler movie, great origin story, a lot more enjoyable than I originally thought. Thank you all for tuning in and listening. Don't forget to subscribe and keep coming back. We'll talk more movies and video games. Love you all. See you real soon.